Boa noite. Hi there. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Fred Macedo, and I'm here with my friends Rosangela, Ruben, and Rosalie for another Gospel at Home. Before we start, I'm gonna ask my dear friend Rosangela to make our initial prayer, please.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you. So now I'm gonna share my screen. The night's theme is the Spirit's book, question 786. Relapsed cultures. History has shown us many cultures that relapsed into barbarity after shocking events deeply upset them. Where is the progress in such a case? When your house threatens to collapse, you demolish it in order to build a stronger and more comfortable one. Until it is rebuilt, however, there is trouble and confusion in your dwelling. A further example: you are poor and live in a hovel, but you become wealthy and live in a palace. Then some poor fellow, as you formerly were, comes and takes your place into the hovel and feels very content because he previously had no shelter at all. Very well, very well. Learn from this that the spirits incarnated in those declining cultures are no longer the spirits who had comprised them during their time of splendor, because they have progressed. Those former spirits have moved into even more perfect dwellings, while less advanced ones have taken their place, which they too will leave behind in their turn. 787. Aren't there peoples that by their very nature rebels against progress? Yes, but they are corporally disappearing day by day. What will be the future fate of the souls who animate those peoples? Like all others, they will finally arrive at perfection by passing through other existences. God deserts no one. So the most civilized individual may have been primitive beings and cannibals. You yourselves were such more than once before becoming what you are now. 788. Like individuals, cultures are collective individualities that pass through childhood, adulthood, and decrepitude. Since this truth is attested to by history, does it not lead us to assume that the most advanced cultures of this century will be declined and end just as those of antiquity? Those cultures that only live a material existence and whose greatness is found only upon power and territorial expansion. are born, grow, and die out because the might of a culture exhausts itself just like that of an individual. Cultures with selfish laws that clash with the progress of enlightenment and charity die out because light annihilates darkness and charity eradicates selfishness. However, for cultures as for individuals, there is the life of the soul. In cultures with laws that are in harmony with the eternal laws of the Creator will live and will be guiding lights for other cultures. 7, 8, 9. Will progress someday unite all of Earth's people into a single nation? Not into a single nation. That would be impossible because nationalities are formed based on different customs and needs arising from diversity in climates, and their local laws are designed to accommodate such customs and needs. Charity, on the other hand, knows nothing of geographical latitudes and does not differentiate people by their color, while the law of God comprises the basis of human law everywhere. Cultures and individuals will practice the law of charity toward each other, living joyfully and peacefully, because no one will attempt to deceive their neighbor or live at his or her expense. Kardec's note: humankind progresses by means of individuals who increasingly improve and enlighten themselves. When this grow in number, they take the lead and draw the rest forward. Geniuses appear from this time to time to provide an impulse, followed by individuals invested with authority, who, as instruments of God, enable mankind to advance many centuries in just a few years. The progress of cultures further highlights the justice of reincarnation. Moral individuals make praiseworthy efforts to help a nation advance morally and intellectually. The nation thus transformed will be happier both in the world and in the next. Nonetheless, during this slow march across the centuries, thousands of people die every day. What will be the fate of those who succumb along the way? Does their relative state of imperfection deprive them of the contentedness reserved for those who arrive last? Or is their happiness relative? Divine justice could not consecrate such an injustice. Through the oof, plurality of existence, the right to happiness is the same for all, for no one is deprived of progress. Those who live at a time of barbarity can return at a time of civility in the same culture or in another one. It is obvious that all are benefited by the ascendant march. The theory of one soul existence, however, presents another problem in this case. According to this theory, the soul is created at the moment of birth. Thus, if some individuals are more advanced than others, it's because God has created a more advanced soul for them. Why this favoritism? Why would these individuals who have not lived any longer than the ones before them, often not as long, deserve to be given a more advanced soul? But even this is not the main problem. over 1,000 years, a culture passes from barbarity to civility. If human beings were able to live 1,000 years, one could conceive that they would have time to progress during that time. But every day humans die at all ages. Their numbers are constantly being replenished, with new ones appearing and disappearing every day to such an extent that by the end of a millennium, no trace remains of the former inhabitants. The barbaric nation has become civilized. What is that has actually progressed? What is this that has actually progressed? The individuals who used to be barbarians, but they already died long ago. It is the newly arrived. Well, if their souls were created at the time of birth, they could not have existed during the time of barbarity. Thus, we could have to believe that the efforts made to civilize a people do not have the power to improve imperfect souls, but to cause God to recreate other souls who are more advanced. Just a moment. Let us compare this theory of progress with the one that has been given to us by the spirits. The soul that come during the time of civility have had their infancy like all the others, but they have already lived many times before, and they arrived already advanced as the result of previous progress. They come because they are attracted to an environment which is sympathetic to them and which suits their current state. Therefore, the effort made to civilize a people do not have the effect of determining the future creation of souls who are more advanced, but of attracting those who have already progressed, whether they have already lived among that people in times of barbarity or whether they have come from somewhere else. Upon this rests the key to the progress of all humankind. When all the cultures are at the same level of morality, the earth will house only good spirits, living in fraternal unity. The bad spirits, having been repelled and dislocated, will seek out evolved worlds and an environment that suits them until they have made themselves worthy to come back to our transformed world. So, what can we say about this part that we read? Uh, we had a lot of lives before this one. So, when we were primitive, I don't know, hundreds or thousands lives ago, we started to learn from other spirits that were more evolved than we are. And then we have lived hundreds of times, learned lots of things, learned how to survive, and then we left the caves and start to live in cities. Then our social skills were developed, and now we live in a society. It's not a perfectly moral society. We have problems, but we are we are working on them as we progress, as we progress. Because first we develop our intellect, and the moral follows after that. And someday we'll be like angels, because the Christ said, "Everyone can do what I have did and more," meaning that we are all destined to perfection. But in order to do so, we will have hundreds of lives more, because we will have to learn everything. If we are men, we will be women. If we are labor workers today, we'll be scientists one day. We will learn everything. That's why we need a lot of experience in the flesh as incarnated spirits in these flesh and bone bodies, because we need this experience to progress. That's why we are always returning until we learn everything there is to learn, and we progress morally. This is what we have for tonight. I appreciate all of you that are watching us. Please, Rosangela, make our final prayer.
We thank the good spirits who have come to communicate with us and ask them to help us put into practice the instruction they have given us. We also hope they will ensure that each and for us at the end of the session is fortified in the practice of good and love for our neighbor. We also wish these lessons may be useful for the suffering, ignorance, or vicious spirits who will able to attend this meeting and for whom we implore the mercy of God. God bless you all.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Rosangela. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.